Anyway, I kind of put all these together for us to have a look of a bit of what I have, at least on the digital, for Dean's life. And this is what a lot of us remember, you know, of him being up here and kind of looking after all of the speakers. And can we want to turn the lights down a bit? Okay. What, can we turn that one? Switch. So you might recognize some of the speakers, but again, you know, Dean was pretty good with handling everybody, especially the ladies, but again, Dean was Dean, and you will notice the whistle around his neck, which has been retired. We'll kind of keep that one the way it is. And yeah, he's definitely kind of kept us going over the years. And Joe Blankenship. So it's, again, after 12 years, it was, yeah, I feel kind of honored after the last few years, especially, you know, being more volunteering. And then every once in a while, he'd bring his first wife up. So, you know, Phyllis would get to come up and be a part of it all. And I think he even let her speak once in a while. So he did pass off the microphone, and Phyllis would entertain us. She was definitely always kind and generous as well. And he would do his antics and pull some dogs. Well, one dog in this picture, one dog in the next picture. But where is the lady? What was this dog's name again? Basil? Basil? Basil. He was definitely a show dog. And then now he has another little dog over here, and I don't know if they're doing some kind of pet reading or what. But was that his dog? That's right. His dog was always afraid of him. And yeah. Until then. Were you? Oh, yeah. The dog. So, yeah, and Dean would do his thing out and everywhere, and of course then he even gets along with the younger gals. Where is that Alex? Is she here? She's hiding again. Was this last year? I don't know. They're from all over the place. The last 3 or 4 years, because I don't have digital pictures past 3 years. But this is kind of leading up to a story, and I guess, again, like I said, when I first started giving the prizes away on Friday morning, this is where I really, really missed him the most, because he just had so many good one-liners. He knew everybody, and he knew how to just ride everybody. So, but he did it in such a joyous way. So, now, last year to me was very entertaining because I felt it was a nice conference. A lot of us got to be very close to Dean, and it was so neat because it was a little bit smaller, and besides being a volunteer last year, I decided to have a booth again. And we were kind of, it was Saturday night, and a couple of these 3 gals that were across from us they were so precious, they were having so much fun, and they brought some CDs down. And so they started putting these CDs on, and at one point, this lady in the middle, June, grabbed me, and we started dancing, and then a couple of the gals started dancing. Next thing I know, about 4 or 5 women we were dancing with, and I thought, this is, you know, I mean, it's nice, but I need some help. So I ran down the aisle, and Dean was talking to somebody. I said, Dean, hurry! We got an emergency, got to go. And Dean turned, and he took off like he was going to first base, and he's running. And I gave him to June. And so this is, to us, one of the more precious pictures. And he danced with, I don't know how many of the ladies then, but he definitely had a lot of fun. So to see Dean just think that there was a big emergency, and I know he played a lot of softball, and he was definitely running to first base until he saw June. And then he just kind of let up and had fun. So, you know, to me, Dean was a very precious person. You know, he will be missed. But, you know, I know he wants us to keep on going with who we are. So we also have a video here that was shown if anybody was at the memorial, but this was put together by Liz at Backcountry, and in theory it will play at the right keyed point. Here we go. Oh, we need volume on this, do we? We'll have to do it down here? Oh.
Okay, David. Hi.
Has this thing got a bad tracking on it, Mike?
It shouldn't. It should just play.
Well, yours was playing bad this morning, too.
It shouldn't. Oh, anybody got a hammer? To have a man who lives right here in Denver who goes over to England every year and takes the best crop circle pictures in the country or on the globe. As I told you earlier, our other man, and if you didn't hear it, Peter Kawaja had some unexpected things come up that caused him to have to not be here, and Ron was on our list anyway that we'd like to get in on this program.
I know a trick. Let's see what happens.
So, without any further ado, that's what we're going to do, and he is going to give you the latest.
I think we need a better video.
Some of the very first
Video
to see
machine.
these latest crop circle pictures. And it's a pleasure to bring to you now Ron Russell, our own
Yeah,
Ron Russell. Come on, play. Thank you. Has been with us on several future occasions. It's always great to have him back and bring us up to date on what's going on in the global financial markets. In addition to the other things he does, he's written a shelf full of books, enough for you to read from now for the next week or two, and they're all good, and he does tremendous research into the area of economics, how the Christian ethic works, and what may be happening in the future. Welcome, R.A. McMaster Jr. this
Shut it
morning.
up.
It's a pleasure to have him here, please.
That's it. Put a little energy in that.
I've had so many requests
VCR that works.
Okay, shut it
from
off.
people who have heard.
Well, it is a very cute piece, so maybe what we'll do here is I'll pass this on to Carol, and we'll deal with that in a bit. So, Carol, and I would like to say something that we have passed the torch on to a lovely lady, and she's added a lot of feminine touch. Rather than having those white sheets that used to fall down on us, this is definitely a little bit classier. So, here's Carol.
Thank you, Trin. Oops, they're going to turn the lights on. Dean was a very, very special person, and you all know that in many different ways. The video clip is really nice. However, Trin's little piece was wonderful too, and so if we don't get it, at least you had a flavor. And you'll all, did it bring any tears? Seeing Dean again. We've all had a lot of emotion getting into this conference and miss him in many, many different ways. But you know, he's still with us. He's influenced a lot of different things. Sometimes I ask him, okay, how do we do this? Or should I do this? Sometimes he tells me yes or no. Sometimes he tells me I'm on my own. So it's just remembering Dean. And what I'd like now is if there's anyone who would like to come up and say anything, a happy story, a fun story that you remember about Dean or a conference. Are we about to get? We're about to get it.
Ready?
Okay.
Okay, coming up. Yeah, I've got it going forward. No, that's fast forward. I had it on that. I had it. Pull it. I pushed eject. Okay, nothing's perfect. Hey, I heard who said that? I heard that. Cool it.
Goes over to England every year and takes the
Now I'm going to reverse it. Reverse it. I do what you
There
said.
you go.
I want you to let me know about
Wanna do
the
this or reverse
sound
one?
as to how, if you can hear him
Okay.
all right. I know his voice will project better. Okay, David?
Hi. Okay.
a man who lives right here in Denver and who goes over to England every year and takes the best crop circle pictures in the country or on the globe. As I told you earlier, our other man, and if you didn't hear it, Peter Kawaja had some unexpected things come up that caused him to have to not be here, and Ron was on our list anyway that we'd like to get in on this program. So without any further ado, that's what we're going to do, and he is going to give you the latest. You're going to be some of the very first to see these latest crop circle pictures, and it's a pleasure to bring to you now Ron Russell, our own member, Ron Russell. Come on, please. Thank you. Has been with us on several future occasions. It's always great to have him back and bring us up to date on what's going on in the global financial markets. In addition to the other things he does, he's written a shelf full of books, enough for you to read from now for the next week or two, and they're all good, and he does tremendous research into the area of economics, how the Christian ethic works, and what may be happening in the future. Welcome, Ari McMaster Jr. this morning. It's a pleasure to have him here, please. I've had so many requests from people who have heard Almeen Barton that I feel that we are most fortunate to have been able to have her attend our conference today. I'm as interested as you are in hearing her, and I know you'll be interested in hearing more after you hear the next presentation. And I wish you would give now our warmest Denver, Colorado Global Sciences welcome to Almeen Barton. Enough already about an organization called the IRS. But there's a lot of things perhaps you would like to know in addition. And I'm pleased to present Eddie Kane this afternoon, who is living and inhabits his home here in the state of Florida, who has studied this situation and has what I believe one of the best illustrations and the best methods of handling this condition that exists in this country. I'll say when I was calling, you can call me on energizing water. I know he conducts conferences on the subject of water there in the Dallas area once a year, and you might be very interested in attending. So I'll ask you to mention that and when the next date is and that sort of thing. I think his story is typical of those advances that helped mankind. They didn't come from any large corporation. They didn't come from any large funding effort or anything like that. They just kind of grew, and he's here to tell us more about it. I think you're going to find it fascinating, interesting, educational, and helpful. Welcome, Joseph Bender, will you, of the Dallas, Texas area. Garland, I believe, to be specific. Thank you very much. You guys have been taking away. Come on, come on, come on.
We were drinking that night.
Amazing. Like the fire in your eyes. Gotta be real. It's all right. All right. Good night.
Oh, we're having one of these parties this evening. By the way.
Good night. Long with you. So into me.
See what you've
The
met.
next speaker has a location that I would like to go to, and I plan to do that as soon as the universe decides. He has an acreage in the Hood River, Washington state border, where some unusual activity is going on. Since we have talked several months ago, when he was brought to my attention by Scott Thomas, if you remember him as one of our former speakers. He's been on a number of other shows, Art Bell and that sort of thing.
Yeah, let's get Phyllis up here. Were those some memories? We're going to have Phyllis come up now, and she has a few things to say. You have to push that back down.
Hey, no, hey, I do everything in reverse, okay? It's gotten me into a lot of trouble. Yep. You're gonna sit down, kiddo. No what's hands.
Go ahead and sit down.
I got lots of men's friends.
And
don't I?
here's Phyllis.
It's about time.
I couldn't miss today.
I'll hold it for you.
No, I can do it. It's just like old times. And Dean's here. And if I dare make a mistake, he'll let me know. Carol came to me and asked me if I had anything that has happened in the past. And you know, when you're 83 years old, you can't hardly remember anything. But I did think of Dr. Galen and Sarah Hieronymus. I know a lot of the older members remember them. They were the kindest souls that you ever would find. And Galen was always trying to make everything funny, which Dean fell for right away. But I wanted to tell you about Galen when he got up to speak one day. In the middle of his speech, he looked down and said, "Whoops, I lost my pants." And he quit speaking and he turned and he pulled his pants up. And then went on with his speech without saying anything more. Next day he came in walking and he was wearing the brightest red suspenders that you would ever want to see. He told us personally that he was trying to lose weight. And you can imagine what Dr. Sarah, his wife, was feeling. but they were the dearest couple. Another one is Claudine, and you know I can't think of her last name. But anyway, she was my helper at the registration table. And she had a disagreement with a man trying to get in the conference free. Somehow later, we saw him sitting in the conference room. How he got in there, we don't know. So Claudine took it upon herself to go in there and lead him out. And leading him out with a lot of protest from him, of course. But she got him out, and from that time on, she was known as a leader of our pack. Claudine was with us for many years until her health told her to quit, and we really missed her. Many things have happened during our 19 years of conferences. And you know, maybe a lot of you can get up and tell your story about the conference where I couldn't even remember anything, even the last names of people, and that's getting bad. But we always enjoyed all of you folks, and we always look forward to the conferences. So many of you are here again this year, and I would like to ask you to hold up your hands. The older members, the ones that have been coming. Well, there's a lot of them here. And we want to thank all of you for being here again, even without Dean. And those who are new, we also want to welcome you. We always like company. Carol and Dennis, they know how hard it is to conduct a conference. They're doing a great job, and I'm sure Dean is very proud of them, as I am. We want to thank them for taking over and doing such a great job. Let's give them a big hand. Doesn't seem like a year has gone by since Dean left. He died on August the 16th, 2001, 2 days after our last conference. He went fast, which I am thankful for, because I hope I go the same way. He was the kind of person that, boy, you can't tell him nothing. And he would have been a hard patient to take care of. And I guess the Lord knew that, because he took him fast. I'm still living in our home, me and my little doggie, little toy poodle, Christy. We are getting along real good, although there are many lonely times, especially at nighttime. I don't have any proof, but I believe he visited me one night, because my little poodle got down off the Davenport and she was really sleeping. But she woke up and jumped down and went to the edge of the carpet, no farther. And she barked. And it was a funny bark. It wasn't loud. It was kind of a growl and a bark together. And she stayed there for a little bit, and then she went to the door. And she smelled all along the bottom of the door. And I believe that is when Dean came and visited us. I have no proof, but I have that feeling. And I haven't had that experience since. The Lord is taking good care of me. I know he has appointed my poodle to watch me, because she follows me everywhere I go, even to the bathroom. She waits for me. I still have my knee problem, but other than that, I am getting along real good. And I hope I go pretty soon. But it's up to the Lord. He'll let me know. I was wondering if you people missed that whistle. I noticed Carol and Dennis didn't have the whistle this time. But I still have it. I have his remains still. But what I'm going to do and what I plan to do, he played so much softball that I'm going to scatter his ashes over the ball field that he's played at. I know he would like that. Our wedding anniversary was last Sunday, August the 4th, making it 54 years. Not bad for an old couple. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming this year. And I'm so happy to see there's so many people that have continued to come. And I know Dean would like that too. Come and visit me anytime. I'm still around, and you're always welcome. Okay.
Before Phyllis leaves, I'd really like to thank her for all the work that she has done all these years. You know, they say behind every great man, there is a great woman who does the work. So, Phyllis, we have a little something for you. And we also have a card signed by a lot of your attendees.
Nice.
So
Very nice. Can I peek?
you can peek. We'll have to open the box for you. Do you want Dennis to open it for you?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll get Dennis in here.
Yes, it is. It's pretty cool. So. Oh, get it.
You need
Yeah, can you help?
Just tip it up.
Tip it up.
There.
Keep on doing
Here,
It's glue. We know what it is. It's glue.
there we go.
Oh, my goodness. Take it out. Ooh. Oh, it's an angel. Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I've got another angel. Oh, how nice. Oh, beautiful. Isn't that nice? You come to my house. You come to our house, and you'll find angels all over it. Even the one that's in a swing up hanging in the living room. Yeah, thank you, both of you.
Thank you. Okay. Thanks for all your hard work for all of those years, and thank you for putting up with Dean. Is there anyone who has a story they would like to tell about a conference that they remember? Okay. Katrina. Hi, dear.
My name is Katrina Perry, and I've been around global science since the very beginning, and I loved it ever since the very, very beginning. I fondly remember an outing that Dean cooked up. It was about the first year that global science was going, and there may be some of you here that remember it. It was the outing that we went clear way down past Pueblo and into the Pishipaw River, and it was on the Taylor Ranch, and I'll never forget it because a lot of people back then, they were working with ley lines and so forth, and a lot of the people came out of the psychotronics group and so forth, and I can't believe how many dowsers there were then. So it was, Dean had to pull a lot of strings to get into the Taylor Ranch. It wasn't easy to do that because there's a lot of old artifacts and incredible places to go, and there's special rock canyons with petroglyphs and so forth, and there was just tremendous amount of stories and history and all kinds of stuff. Well, it doesn't rain down there, hardly ever. Well, we had all these dowsers. I don't know how many we had. We had carloads of dowsers and ley line people. We went down in here. It was such a cool trip. We had cameras and everything. And we brought tents and food and more food. I mean, this was such a cool trip. It was just the best. So here we are. We're driving in, and just to get to the place was really a scream. We had to go down in this dirt road, and it got rockier and rockier. And then we had to cross the river, and the river was, some of the water was going and stuff, and just getting across there was really a big deal. So somehow we managed, some of the cars, we got some of the cars in there. So we finally got to the camp, and there was a lot of us that camped out kind of in the flatter part where it was kind of a little bit down below the canyon and the mountains and stuff. And so all of us went, and we were doing our dowsing and ley lines and all this kind of stuff, and there's just a ton of us, and we had this great big tent, and we told stories about the archaeologists and the sites up there and the big standing stones and all this kind of stuff. This is such a great trip. So all of a sudden, and we, like I said, it doesn't rain, right? So well, sorry, we were there about a day and really getting into it, and Toby Groats was telling us far out stories about seeing pyramids coming down out of the sky and stuff. I mean, it's just getting better and better and better all the time. I was really hooked. So so then about in the second day, it started to rain, and it kept raining, and it kept raining, and it kept raining and raining and raining, and everybody that was in the tents down further below, they couldn't deal with it anymore. They had to get out of there because it was flooding. And like I say, there was this great big tent, so people kept coming in this tent, and more people, and we had to eat there. I mean, the rain didn't stop. Like I say, there was a lot of dowsers, So, I just love this story. I just finally remember it. And I don't know where all the food came from, but we were stuck there. We couldn't get out. I mean, there was just no way out of there. We had trouble even reaching anybody. We didn't have cell phones back then. Okay, so and we didn't even have any laptops either. I mean, this was very fun. It's a miracle anybody got out to even get help. I mean, the cars didn't work, and the jokes deteriorated, and there was this pathetic fire out there, and you would go out and sit around it, and then the jokes would get worse and worse, and I don't know where all the food came from, but we were a week late out of there. And it was just the most wonderful, it's one of the most wonderful memories I have. And it truly signifies the joy and the essence of everything to come and everything. And I just couldn't get enough of it. We finally got out of there, but it was, I don't know whether there's anybody here that remembers that trip. Is there anybody here that remembers that trip? I mean, this was like 18 years ago, okay? So, I don't know.
I wasn't there.
Oh, it was great. Do you remember Dean saying something about the Pishipaw River trip? Does anybody remember?
You're the only one enjoying this, okay?
I love this. Is such a great story. I have pictures. I have pictures to prove that I was here, okay?
All right.
Really. So, thank you.
I believe she made that up, don't you think so?
Thanks. Okay.
Many years ago, year was 1987, I was working for a company called Sounds True, and they did conference recording then in Boulder. And I had the idea to do videotaping when I was working for that company. And I okayed it with Tammy Simon, who owns the company still. Could I videotape simultaneously at a conference that we're recording? I approached Dean about doing videotaping, and he needed somebody to do it. And gave me that opportunity. Backcountry Productions started out of that. Dean was my first client, and I really have to give tribute to Dean for that opportunity, because that started my company, and I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. And it's a wonderful experience, owning your own business. I haven't regretted a single moment of it. So thank you, Dean, wherever you are. Thank you, Phyllis, for that opportunity. And I, for one, miss Dean's whistle. And when I go to conferences or workshops, I take a whistle with me. And when people say, we got to start again, I go out there with a whistle. And remember Dean every time. I blow that whistle and tell him, it's time to get going. Thanks.
I was just asked who are the oldest members here, and just say how many years.
I'm 98, and I've been here 15 years at least.
15 years. Some guy just said 20. Oh, okay. Come on up. Hey, yeah, do it with the remote. No problem. Come on up.
Thank you. This Lippin wasn't part of the conference. I had a ball. And anyway,
Hang on. Wait till we get up here.
I want to touch Phyllis.
I'm going to catch up with you yet.
What?
I'm going to catch up with you yet.
Oh, yeah, I hope you do. I want to tell you, this has been exciting. Every summer I look forward to this. I've been here 15 years at least, because my husband came, and he's been gone 12 years, and he was here a few years. And anyway, she was so kind to him one afternoon. He was a little tired and nervous, and she said, do you want to go to my room and rest? That's the way she was. Anyway, Dean always gave me a big send-off, at least after beginning with the 90s. He said, this is Edna Johnson. She's been here so many years. So I kind of looked forward to that little due that he was going to give to me. Now, I wouldn't have missed it this year either. And thanks to Carol and her husband for carrying on. This has been a wonderful conference, and I think it's helped me with stay young with my memory at 98, really. Now, I want to tell you, my mother was a naturalist with 8 children. She never had any medical help. She did it herself. And I got that natural introduction to health, natural healing from her. And I'll tell you, I have never taken medication. And I don't know what a headache is. And I've never worn glasses. But I'm very sad right now because I've been driving a car. And all of a sudden, and I have 100 on my license. But anyway, in checking with the traffic, they tell me I'm beginning to have a little cataract and a little macular degeneration. And I've been doing it nutritionally, and I find out you can do lots of wonderful things, but I am checking with the doctor again Thursday. But anyway, Dean gave me a great send-off, and I think these conferences helped me reach 98 with a great view of life. Now I want to introduce my daughter. She's taking care of me now at Manhattan, Kansas. I was from Wichita for years. Would you stand up, Rondi? She's been here a lot too. Anyway, thanks a lot, and thanks, your dear Phyllis, and thanks to you people for carrying on. And I'll be here next year too, if you have a conference. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Hi, I'm Joanne Massey. I'm one of the old timers. And it was about maybe 16 years ago, a friend of mine told me about this organization, and back then it was called Psychotronics, which I had never heard of that word before, but I had heard the word psycho before. And so she told me about the different speakers. I said, that really sounds like a bunch of psychos. And she told me about Hieronymus and, put towers in the fields and the plants would grow bigger. I thought, what do you mean plants would go bigger? And she told me about a lot of the different speakers that would come here, and I just couldn't come. I couldn't come to a group of psychos. And she had Psychotronics. And I said, Carol, I just can't go. It sounds really scary to me, even though I myself have had a lot of unusual experiences ever since I was a child. And so finally, one day, Carol said to me, and this is the quote I want to tell all of you because it impressed me so much and still does. Carol said, Joanne, that group is one of the most spiritual groups of people I have ever known. I said, psychos can be spiritual? I mean, I couldn't get rid of the word psycho, so I came to a meeting. I was like shaking in my boots. Oh my gosh, people are going to look really weird. Well, I guess maybe we all do, and so do I. And then later on, we changed, or the name of the group has changed to Global Sciences and now Global Wings. And I consider this group and all of you part of my family. And as many of us, when Dean died, that was like an uncle dying or something like that. It was just really sad. And of course, all of us being so spiritual, we know that he's here right with us, and we're just human beings having a spiritual body. That's what we mainly are, is a spiritual body. And I just really, really enjoyed this group and meeting new people and seeing former, I don't want to say old faces, former faces every year. And we'll keep this growing and going, because that's an honor of Dean that he got all this going for us, and we're going to keep it going forever till we're all over 100.
Thanks, Joanne. Okay, here comes. Okay. Let's get Julie. Yeah. Sure.
First off, I would love to thank Carol and Dennis, because I think they're doing a wonderful job. And so glad all of you could come out and support them in that. Thank Phyllis for coming to see us. I first met Dean in '84. He had a great influence in my life in many ways, still does today. He drove at midnight one night to bring a tape down to the hospital to my son, helped to bring the sound therapy in, which I think saved my son's life. Brought a doctor in from Alaska with color therapy to help save my husband's life. So he was a great influence. Unfortunately, we couldn't save his life. We tried sound and color both on him the last 2 days in the hospital. But he was up there telling Phyllis and I that we were just going to have to go on and work, and he was go on and have fun playing baseball in the sky. So glad you all came. We all still love him very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Did you want to say something?
I took a trip with Dean. I can't talk right now.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a funny little story. When we went to Daytona, the last conference with Dean and Phyllis, we always rode in their car, and Dennis would put Phyllis in the car and shut the door, and there'd go Dean. He never waited for Dennis. He had to run down the street or halfway in the car, and we have laughed so many times about that. It got so Dennis didn't want to shut the door because he knew Dean was gone. So, okay.
Okay. We were going to check out a speaker. So Dean called me up, and I've been checking out his videos, and we were gathering speakers and people and whatnot, So he called me up. He says, "Let's go down to the Springs and check out this guy, and we'll go, be together." And I said, "Hey, no problem, just no problem. Come on." And he drove to the house, picked me up. I have not had such a great hour and a half in all my life. When I drive around, I listen to the radio. Well, obviously the radio was not on, okay? And this guy talked all the way down, all the way back. And there was not a boring comment out of this man. And I love him. And I love Phyllis.
Thanks, Dan.
Well, I don't know how long I've been coming, but who's here with the CIA? They probably know. Okay. But we always kid about that, But I started coming in, they're right, the people who come up here and say it kind of gets to be like a family. For a few years I missed it, but I was out in, where was it? It was not, I think Asheville, North Carolina, teaching a seminar at a bed and breakfast. And we had all these people, and who walks in? Dean. And I said, "Well, Dean, you didn't pay." He goes, "Well, Dan, you never pay when you come to mine." So anyway, we all went, and I think Dean went and stayed, and we stayed over at Burke's house. Remember they put out the, what was it, the leading edge or cutting edge newspaper? And then Dean says, "Oh, I got this great trip planned for us tomorrow." So we all take off. And I think we were looking at caves we were going to crawl back into in case Y2K was the end of the world or something. And but we just always had a lot of fun. And you know what? When I moved to Nebraska, even I think it was even before then, I used to a lot of times call up and visit with Dean. And he'd, I'd tell him, "Well, I'm getting ready to do this." And he'd say, "Oh, well, here's what you can do." And he always knew everybody. And so I'd check everybody out with Dean because Dean knew everybody. Ralph Bergstresser, he told me all about Ralph's stories and about Jesse James. And, he'd keep me on the phone for 2-3 hours telling me stories. I just wish we had all of Dean's stories down on tape. It would be hours and hours of entertainment. How many of you have ever heard Dean tell some of those stories? Great, wasn't it?
Absolutely great.
So,
Great.
anyway, we sorely miss him, and but Phyllis is right. He's here with us. Who's next?
Thanks, Dan.
Nobody's coming up here. I just remembered something else. I was going to go to Death Valley to find an underground city there. There's a Hasmasawas Indians there. And I'd been there 3 times, and I just mentioned it to Dean. I says, "Well, I don't have any money, and it takes a little money to go to Death Valley and hike and motorcycle." He said, "Well, how much would you need?" I said, "Oh, probably $1,000. He gave me $1,000. Here's the checks. He was getting some money from someplace, hon. I don't know what. She's going, "Money? What? Yeah, what? Yeah, what money?" Anyway, so something happened. And I couldn't go. Something happened to the family or something happened. And I gave him the money back. And that's a very true story. And the guy was just out ready to help anybody get information out. It's all about truth. That's what the conference is about, bringing truth out. And this person's got that section of truth, and maybe this group has that section of truth. And hey, this is going to work. With a one world order can go jump in the damn lake.
Thanks, Mike. Anyone else?
Just come on up. Get a row up here.
I don't know if I can speak without tears running. This is my 19th year here, and I came out to Denver to see Marcel Vogel. And I called up and asked if there was room in his seminar, and they said yes. And I came down to the seminar, and I looked at the brochure, and I hadn't seen his name on it, but I asked the people at the desk if Marcel Vogel's seminar was here. And they said, well, they didn't know him at all. And I happened to pick up the program, and Marcel Vogel's name was on the list of speakers. And then that I met a friend. And we've been together every year. But some of the most fun times was, how many of you have walked on fire? We did that one time, and that was fun. And one time we had a man from Germany, and he led us all in bending metal, and we all had spoons, and we bent metal. And so those are times that you just don't forget. And I still have my spoons that are twisted like corkscrews. And so those are a couple of the real memorable things that we did here. But I want to thank Phyllis for sharing Dean's hugs.
Thank you.
Well, I first heard about this organization back in the mid-'80s, I guess. I was talking to John Ratzliff at the Tesla Book Company, and I asked him how the Tesla conference had gone. And he said, hey, it was great. He says, but you know, I went to another one called the Colorado Psychotronics Association. And he said, you know, I really liked the Master of Ceremonies, and I really liked the group. It was a really mellow, smooth group, you know. So the next year, I called and I got the information, and I signed up and I came. And I must have been 84 or 85. I really just don't remember exactly, what year it was, but it was 84, 85. Well, about 5 years later, Dean and I were getting together by phone. I live on the West Coast, which is an hour different time zone here. And so Dean had always delighted in, we became friends sort of immediately, but he always delighted in giving me a hard time, you know. And I mean, I thought, it was not a bad deal that he only probably gave people he liked a hard time, that if he didn't like you, he ignored you, you're out of here. So, because, Dean wasn't known for not speaking his mind and saying, what he thought. So anyway, Dean and I are talking on the phone and putting a little deal together. And he calls me one morning, and I guess he forgot the time difference between, Mountain Time and Pacific Coast Time. Now, I'm a night guy. I'm a nocturnal, not a diurnal, and so usually I don't go to bed until after Art Bell's over at 3 or 4 in the morning, And so Dean calls at 7 in the morning, gets me up out of bed. So I said, Dean, it's 7 in the morning out here. Oh, everybody ought to be up at 7 in the morning, Well, Dean, I'd really appreciate it if you didn't call me that early in the morning, So we didn't get our business finished, and so a day or two later, the phone rings at 7 in the morning. So, I said, well, screw this, and I let it go on the recorder, right? So I get up, and sure enough, it's Dean, right? So I call him back, and he'd gone out shopping or something, and I get his recorder. So, I felt fairly strong about this, and I probably said something to the effect that, damn it, Dean, don't you ever call me before 10 in the morning, I've talked to you about that. So anyway, for the next 3 or 4 years at the conferences here, hey, this guy doesn't like getting up in the morning, and he really gave it to me for about 3 or 4 years. And so that's the funniest thing I remember, Dean, but doing to me, Phyllis, but we'd like to joke back and forth, and he is really dearly missed, and I, for one, hope he's not here with us. I hope he's made it out and is on to bigger and better things and not hanging around. But that's my personal viewpoint. But I sure do miss him.
Thank you, Sam.
Well, I guess I know Dean and Phyllis even longer than any of you. I was going to a psychic years ago by the name of May Champion, Madam Catherine. And so we became very good friends. And I got a phone call and she says, I want to go out to see this man. His name is Dean Stonier. He does these treatments and he checks people out. So I want to go out there. And she didn't drive. So I loaded up my mother and we found out where Phyllis and Dean were. And so we had the treatments. We went back quite a few times. So I don't know how many years ago that's been, but that was a long time before this organization. So I've really known them for many, many years. And then I got back into knowing about Global, and so I got back acquainted with them. And every once in a while we talk about May. May was a psychic that did readings up at Estes Park. And she had been up there for 50 years. And many, many people from would fly in to be going up there for her special readings. So this is how I've known them.
Thank you, Donna. Bill?
Tough. I was at the first psychotronics meeting over at the Catholic high school. And when I first met Dean, because I had some friends who were psychics and they told me about the meeting, so I was fortunate to be there for the first one. I missed a few intermittently, but for the most part I've been here. This is the 19th year. And I was going to see an old friend at the hospital, and I got there about an hour too late. But Julie was there, Julie and Phyllis, and anyway, I sure miss Dean a great deal.
Thanks, Bill. Anyone else?
Many years ago, I came as kind of a smart aleck electrical engineer, and I couldn't flap him. Dean was always on top of things, and he didn't hold a grudge. Some of my first comments I remember I really was embarrassed about because I was such a smart comment, and boy, he just let him go right by, and then he'd come back with one of his comments. And I really grew to love the man and appreciate him. And I just wanted to say that in front of all of you, because I know that many of you feel the same way. And I appreciate Phyllis too.
Thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
I just have a quick, short, funny story. The way I met Dean and Phyllis was through Carol and Dennis. And we were down here at Carol and I were at just a conference with somebody else. And Carol says, Dean and Phyllis would like to have breakfast with us. So we said, okay. So they'd called and made arrangements. And so Carol and I went to the restaurant. And we sat and waited and waited. And we later found out that we had had breakfast together at different restaurants. So that's one of the things I remember about it. It was, they were at, where were you at? They were at the Village Inn and we were at Perkins on the same street, but not together. So.
Okay. Thank you, Pearl. Okay.
I think my first meeting was about '88, right after I moved here. And I'd never talked to Dean, and I missed about maybe 6 or 7 years. But at a Tampa meeting, we had all gotten involved in Greater Ministries. And I decided to hop in a cab and go see what I'd put my money into. And I went to Greater Ministries, and they said, oh, this bald-headed guy was just here, Dean something. I went, oh, yeah, Dean Stonier. So I was really impressed with the investment because they really were helping people. And I came back, and I thought I'd say something to Dean. I'd never said anything to him over the years. And I said, hey, Dean, I heard you just checked out Greater Ministries, too. And he said, yeah, and I'm really impressed. And I said, me too. I don't care if I ever get my money back because they're really helping people. And so from then on, Dean and I always shared stories about putting money into black holes. And and he said, yeah, but don't tell Phyllis I did it. Yeah, and you want to put, but don't. So anyway, Dean and I had a fun relationship on how we lost money together.
Thanks, Chris.
Hello, Phyllis. John Washington. Good to see you. This is only my 4th year coming to these conferences. I wasn't going to get up and speak, but you guys have made me so emotional and teary. I couldn't stand it not to. I've known about these conferences for about 6 years, and because financial conditions of the IRS breaking me, I couldn't come for a couple years, and finally one day I decided I was going to come, and no matter what, I was going to sleep in my van. I brought my boy Stevie there and my other boy Aaron, and I called Dean up and said, Dean, I don't have the money, and I guess he relayed the message to you. But I asked him if he would work with me on the payments for paying for it. And he said, sure. And so I'd mailed payments to him a little bit here and there until I paid off my membership, and that was even after the conference was over. Anyway, I'd been doing that for a couple years, and again, I had to do it with Carol because of the IRS and what they've done to me financially, and I'm sure there's a lot of you out here that have done that. The very first time we came here, my son Stevie and I, we slept in the van out in the back parking lot here. The boys didn't want to be here, but I know how important this information is that Dean has at this conference to get out. You know what? I would love to have you young people, you middle-aged people, young people, whatever, invite young people here because more young people need to perpetuate this and let this information get out about the New World Order and the devastating effects it's got on us in this world. And Phyllis, she always used to write me notes thanking me how honest I was for sending her the money. And I still have those notes today in my files. And I just want to tell her how much I love her and how much I love Dean for putting up with my inability to pay on time, but yet to still pay. Thank you, Phyllis, and thank you, Dean, and God bless you all. And thank you, Carol. Thank you, Carol, and thank you, Dean.
Thank you.
In 1984, Dean and Phyllis brought Dr. John Ray to the Denver area, and that was pivotal and life-changing for many of us because he had some revolutionary ways of treating. And I still, to this day, use some of those techniques. And Dr. John taught us that the energy field that was around us carried thought forms, and he talked about it as sine waves. And as we started experiencing this work, some of us would release some of these negative thought patterns that had been carried in our tissues and organs and energy fields for eons. And a lot of what he talked about was Atlantis. And one particular time when Robert Stevens, who is still doing Dr. John's work in his own particular individual way, was hosting a seminar here, and Dean was a participant. And I was on the table, and my body started going through a sine wave, and it was pretty much like a snake flopping around on a board. And Dean said, "Oh my gosh, it really is." And it was just an amazing thing. And the side of Dean that I know those of us saw every once in a while, there was that rough exterior, but then at one conference in the mid-'80s, he took just a minute to sit by me in the audience, and his heart opened, and I'm very sensitive to energy, and there was just a love wash that happened, and it was a side of Dean I never saw, and I just decided after hearing all of you that I also needed to share that. And the other thing that I guess I'm so appreciative of is that in spite of all of the threats and obstacles, Dean and Phyllis felt like they had a mission. And they worked side by side to make sure that people were informed. And that's something that's very necessary in our world today. Whether it's always the absolute truth or not, it needs to be voiced. And Dean and Phyllis have provided that voice. And now, the Wagners, thank you. And thank you, Phyllis. I guess I'll hand it back.
Thanks. Anyone else? Are you coming?
A day didn't go by when we were throwing a lot of heat back and forth. It gotten so bad that she even started chiding me bad, because anytime Dean would call me the crazy Italian from Minnesota. Anyway, I don't remember the first time I met him, but it was a long time ago when Roy Peaster and John Grambush were running for governor and lieutenant governor. Any people remember that? Long, long time ago. Well, he come to my table, and I didn't know him from a bale of hay, and he says, "Huh." He starts picking up literature. "Huh. Where'd you get this?" And naturally, when you get a spur in your rear, you write something. You know how that goes. Well, anyway, I don't think I went to the first Global. I do not think. All of a sudden, I got a phone call from him, and he told me, "I think you better get here. These people can use your information, you crazy Italian." Well, that was it. And, you know, a day, anytime you see him, if you're, you know, he'd give it to you, you give it to him. And it's gotten to the point here, I'm trying to give her some condolences the other day, and yet it come out a little bit, then a little jib. Anyway, I considered him a real brother. Thanks.
Thanks.
I think I was at the first Global Sciences, either the first or the second one. And I don't think many people know this story, but one of the things I heard at Global saved my life. Evans Rapsmanicus was speaking one time, and I remembered it. And I got sick, and I went to him. And it was pretty wild. We were in Las Vegas, and we were driven around from place to place because the FDA was, or the government was after his machinery. And so he'd move the machines in the night, and we'd go meet in some parking lot and get picked up and go to the house and get treated. But it was a wild trip. But it worked. It absolutely worked. And my friend Robin says, missing Global is like missing Christmas. And one time, I missed the plane to go to Daytona. I don't know how it was that I couldn't get there. And there was nothing to get to Daytona because it was during you know, the spring break for the kids. So I waited for about 8 hours in the airport, no way to get there. And a young black man was sitting around waiting for a plane as well. And I said, look, let's just drive. And he looked like a gentleman, and he was. And we got in my car, and we drove all the way to Daytona. I dropped him off at his family's, and I got there. It was the only way I could get there. And I want to thank you, Carol and Dennis, for carrying on. It's been a wonderful conference, and I feel like, you know, I won't be missing Christmas. And I want to thank you, Phyllis. I know he wasn't easy to live with, and bless your heart for standing by him. And I love you, honey. I'll tell you about it.
Thank you. Oh, here comes
I'm always been a farmer all my life in central Kansas. This is my 20th consecutive year. A year ago I had a real nice visit with Dean, and I don't remember when it was, quite a while back. I was talking to Dean, and he said, you should get up here at the podium and share this information. And I just want to thank Dean and Phyllis, and I appreciate everything. I do know that I learned a lot of things here through the years. And everybody ought to bring somebody new next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Dean, and thank you, Phyllis. It's been great, and it's going to continue on. We'll see you in the morning. Okay. That'll be great. Do you have a pen?
Yes.
Okay, that's good.